This is Pink Shorts, LK 31, BRUX 31, ESPN, HD2. Does it spell penis? I don't know.
61. 7 p.m.
Sabres,
Baltimore
what does
Orioles take on the
ESPN
Boston Red
spell?
Sox. Home feeds on
Oh, it
internet.
sucks. Okay. Thank you, Buffalo Sabres. We're checking. People. On Autoglass. Hello, Eric Schmitz. Autoglass on Main Street. Time Warner Cable lineup 14201. It's Jersey, Pennsylvania, Hudson, Maryland, Virginia, Carolina. Hudson doesn't fit in somewhere. Thank you, Julian Castro and Elizabeth Carey. Pink Shorts is from the front of a live democracy republic, both exposed and approved. Thank you for writing Emerald, the new safety video. This is Auditorium Station, Auditory Nerve Receivers iPhone. Hibiscus information. We're misinterpreting him. This is Pink Shorts, the us use of land communication zoning of your patents via my client's medulla left leg, primary motor cortex left leg, primary visual left leg, primary auditory left leg, arcuate fasciculus left leg, hippocampus left leg, vertical left leg, BRCA left leg, angular gyrus left leg, or any part of the left or right hemisphere of the brain is in agreement of identical evidence and following forensic files. I'm sure you are investigators at some point. Discretion of all content are obtained will be used for Meriwether businesses and the new All Television Network. Contact me and Miss Cleo at 1-800-Isabel-98 Ground Zero, the Mogul 86 and 37 BET Weather Channel. Yoy Harris. Pay your Agua bills at 1-800-932-SSI. 8872. The rest is my identity. Two-party consent is a law in California required to record or eavesdrop on any confidential communication, including a private conversation. And we thank Google for changing it to YouTube Live. A telephone call, Google Hang-ins, Google Hangouts. This is a news program. Anything that hangs from trees without the consent of all parties to the conversation. Violation code, Penal Code 632. Hopefully we won't choke today. Thank you, September 12th of this year for the new move. Statutes and limitations do not apply. Intrusion claims last for 2 years in California. Okay, yeah, my mic was kind of low. Due to time constraints, we are expediting our intro. Today again is ESPN2 HD high definition.
7 p.m. Baltimore Orioles take on the Boston Red
One.
Sox. Home feeds on internet 842. Away feeds on internet.
This is a live email you have received. Blah blah blah. Babysitting business. I'm very excited to do today's show. I'm wearing Savvy from head to toe. I did everything you wanted me to do. Identical evidence. My second name is Question and Repertoire. Audio experience, 11 songs. Motivational speaker, richest man in the world. Universe, world, galaxy. Save me some of that bleach cobbler. I saved all your files. Today is verbatim. Look for our new interview with CEO of Apple. Sometime this week. We don't know what day it is. Only they know what day it is. Yeah. Only you can look through the phone. Please know the date of your interview, and we'll be ready. Thank you. Hello, Barack.
I obviously have a very strong
Verbatim in process.
about the two candidates who are running here.
Toucan Sam.
One is very positive,
Fruit Loops. Cereal. We're serial killers, aren't we?
and I think that you will just hear.
I think you just hear the truth.
Any further questions that are directed to the subject?
Any questions that are directed, energy,
variations on
or
this.
anything else that we make in moist states?
What I can say is this is
Chef Boyardee.
and
Snap the yard.
the person who is in the Oval Office and who are Secretary of Defense,
Secretary of
and
Defense,
our, Joint Chiefs of Staff,
our Joint Chiefs of Staff,
and our
and
outstanding
our
men and women in
outstanding
uniform.
men and women in
report
the
to.
Army, our largest employer in the world.
They are counting on somebody
The
who
Army.
has
Why wouldn't we
temperament
give
and
away
good
gift
judgment,
cards
to be able to make
to
decisions
ramp
to
up
keep America
the
safe.
public?
And
And
that should be
that should
very
be a
much on the
clue
minds of
of
voters when they go into
how
the voting
serious
booth
we
in
are
November.
about public
Um,
health
In terms of the
in
threat
terms of the threat
that ISIL poses
that
to the
ISIL
homeland,
poses to Homeland.
I think it is
I think it is
serious. We take it
serious that we
seriously.
take it seriously,
Uh,
that we love
and
it, and that we
as I said earlier,
move past
precisely
these
because
epidemics.
they are less concerned about
Less
big,
concerned
spectacular
about big
9/11
spectacular
style attacks,
9/11 style,
because they've seen
because
the degree of
Yale
attention they can
and
get with
Andre
smaller
coverage
scale attacks
is
using
Homeland Security,
small arms,
small
or
arms,
assault rifles,
assault
or
rifles.
in the case of Nice,
In
France,
case
a
of
truck.
a truck,
Uh,
a Walmart gift card,
the possibility
the
of either a lone
possibilities.
actor or a
We have to
small
rethink
cell
those.
carrying out an attack
You're
that
already the president.
kills
You're running
people.
a company. You're
Is
running a
real.
phone network,
And that's why
and that's the
our
illusion.
intelligence and law
We're
enforcement
running
and
AT&T.
military officials are working around the clock to try to you know, anticipate potential attacks,
to
obtain the threads of
obtain
people who
PH or J or
might
doctor.
be
What? Oh, BIM.
vulnerable
Obtained by
to
legal means.
brainwashing by
Whitewashing and reversing
we are constrained here in the United States to
the way we got
to
in.
carry out this work in a way that's consistent with our laws and
They want me to be the
presumptions of
mayor.
innocence. And the fact that we
that
prevent a lot of
we
these
can't do
attacks
that
as effectively
as
as we do, without a lot of
Pamela
fanfare
Nicholson,
and abiding
we
by our
just
law,
can't.
is a
14
testament to
Enterprise.
the incredible work
We can't.
these
The
folks are
14
doing.
Enterprise
They
is
work
not
really hard at
happening.
it, but it is always a risk.
It is always a risk.
And
And
some of you may have read
some of you may
the article
the
in the New York Times
New York Times and
today.
Post.
I guess it came out last night
I
online.
guess I said it. It was
About
page 2
this
of
individual
wireless
in Germany
bills
who had
that we've
confessed and
always
given himself up and
settled our class
explained
actions and our wireless
his,
bills.
his knowledge of how
It's a Bluetooth
ISIL's
Motorola
networks worked.
V710.
There was a
What part of the
paragraph
fall
in there
don't
that
we
some
understand?
may have caught,
We have
which
settled.
we don't know.
We don't know
For a fact that this is true, but according
that if
to
a monkey from Africa carried the virus, we don't
the
know.
individual
Or
indicated that ISIL
if Tom Frieden
recognizes it's
has
harder to get
the real answer.
its operatives into
It's
the United
operative
States.
it's in the United States.
But
But
the fact that
the
we
fact
have
that
what he referred to as open
he
gun
referred to
laws
as open,
meant that anybody, as long as they didn't have
someone
a criminal
from Kenya
record that barred them
could
from purchase,
hijack us.
could go in and buy weapons. That made
that
sort of
Kenya
a
can
homegrown
hijack
extremist
us
strategy more attractive to them.
and be
And those are the hardest to
the
stop
real identity
because by definition,
or
if
the
somebody
origin of the virus.
doesn't have a record,
It
if
doesn't
it's
have
not
a Kenya
triggering
link
something,
at all.
it means that anticipating their actions.
It's our
becomes
cable
that much more
boxes,
difficult. And
it's
this is why
it's not pushing people. It's not a
military
cable
strategy
box.
that we have in Syria and Iraq is
It's not a
necessary,
cable
but
box.
it is not sufficient.
It's not
We
pushing
have
people.
to do a better job
It's a cable
of
box.
disrupting
It's a cable
networks.
box. Home box. You box at
And those
home.
networks are
You box at
more
home.
active in Europe
As soon
than
as
they
you
are
leave, you
here,
box.
but we don't
we
know what
don't.
we don't know, and so it's
We don't get
conceivable
this
that
from
there are some
Kenya.
networks here that
We get this
could
from
be
here,
activated.
from home.
But we also have to get to the
You
messaging that
got a
can
box
reach
at home as soon as you leave. It's
over
Scientific
the internet
Atlanta.
and do a better job
do
of
a better
disrupting
job.
that. And what I've told
And
my
what
team
I've told
is
my
that
team is that
although we've been working on this
although
now
we
for
do at the
5, 6, 7
14
years,
Enterprise,
we've got to put more
Friday
resources
we
into
won't
it.
be
This
14
can't be an
Enterprise.
afterthought. It's something that we have
It's
to
something that we have to do.
really focus on.
Really focus
This is also
or
why
tourist
how we
or
work
explore
with
any
the
forward
Muslim
lineup,
American community,
the values
about
about
their patriotism,
the deals that
their
we've made.
sacrifice.
We can't link it up with the 14.
And our fellow feeling with them
Fellow
is so
feeling,
important.
so
One
important.
of the reasons that
One of the reasons
that
we don't have
networks and cells that are
networks and cells
as active here as they are in
here,
certain parts of Europe
certain
is
parts of because we wanted to
the
role
Muslim
play
American community
Kenya
in this
hijacking us.
country is extraordinarily patriotic.
before we
and
gave up the country
largely successful.
to
And
bankruptcy.
fights in our military and serves as our doctors and our nurses. And
And
there are communities in which they are raising
they're
their kids
raising their
with love of
kids.
country and a rejection of
Love of
violence.
country and
And that
rejection.
has to be affirmed consistently.
That has to be affirmed consistently.
If we screw that up, then
If
we're
we
going to
screw that up, I'm sure I'm correct on the
of USA Today.
theory.
Yesterday, you commuted the sentences of.
You mean they wanted to role play
It
a
was the
hijacking?
largest single-day grant of
That's my theory. I'm not
communications
sure
in
if
the
it's
history of
true.
American presidency. So I
I
wanted
don't
to ask
know.
you a couple of questions about your clemency thought process.
I
One
think
is,
he's American Airlines.
You've talked about this.
Oh,
as
actually, is he
low-level,
American Airlines
drug
in
offenders who
Chicago?
got mandatory minimum sentences. But about a quarter
May.
of the commutations you've granted also
May
hit firearms
Chicago.
offenses.
Is the president
Given
American
your
Airlines
overall
to a
philosophy on
May?
firearms, can you reconcile that for us? And given that
Oh, he's
previous
sure.
presidents
Sure.
even
I
sent a
think I
memo
heard
to the
sure.
Office of Pardon Attorney saying there was a sort of a predisposition against
Today's show is
firearms.
sponsored by Galid
What's changed
Pharmaceuticals.
in that?
Our
Ledger here
commander.
is pardons. You've granted more
He gave it
commutations
to
than
us.
any president since Calvin Coolidge. You've granted fewer pardons than any two-term president since John Adams.
This is
Why
verbatim
is that?
software.
Is the focus on commutations taking energy away from pardons? Especially since these are you've talked about second chances.
We
Full
can't
pardons
discuss
give people
that.
a better chance at those second chances. And
Twitter.
then finally, just one other thing on pardons. Many of your predecessors in the final days of their
We
presidency
do know. We just can't discuss that.
reserve that for their more politically sensitive pardons. Should we expect you to do that, or would you rule that out?
I appreciate the
I appreciate.
question, Gregory, because I haven't had a chance.
I
to
am
talk about
American
this much, and
Airlines
this
in
is an effort that I'm really proud of.
Chicago. May I say,
It is my view,
it
shared
is my view and share
by
by
Democrats and
Democrats and
alike,
Republicans alike
in many quarters.
in
that
many quarters or pennies.
as successful
I am
as we've
American
been
Airlines
reducing
in the May.
crime in this country.
And
Extraordinary rate
extraordinary
of
rate,
incarceration
commercial
of
air,
nonviolent
nonviolent
offenders
offenders.
has created
And
its own
then we can
set
get
of
into it.
problems that are
And
devastating.
that are devastating.
Um,
I knew.
entire communities
Too
have been
young.
ravaged,
Where
largely men,
largely,
but some women,
but somewhere
are taken out of those communities.
taken out of those
Kids are
kids
now growing up without
not
parents.
growing up without parents.
Perpetuates a cycle
Perpetuates a cycle of
poverty
bumper to
and
bumper
disorder in their
warranties.
lives. It is disproportionate.
Warranty by net,
Young men of color
by
that are
Ron
being
Young.
arrested at higher rates,
We didn't know how to fix
charged
cars
and convicted at higher rates,
or build
and
claims to New Jersey.
imprisoned for longer sentences.
Warranty
And so
Verizon.
ultimately,
Ultimately,
the fix on this
the effects on
is
this
criminal justice.
is criminal
reform,
justice.
And I still hold that.
And
hope
I still hold
the
that
bipartisan
theory
effort that's
is
taking
like
place in Congress
I'm American Airlines
can
in May, Chicago.
finish the job,
and
we can have a criminal justice system,
criminal
at least at the
justice
federal level,
suggesting
that
aborted,
is both smart on crime, effective
smart on crime,
crime,
effective,
but recognizes
recognize
the need for proportionality in sentencing
the
and
sentencing,
the need to rehabilitate.
the need to
those who
rehabilitate
commit crimes.
Cedars and UCLA. But
even
we're not
as
the same.
That slow process of
We're
criminal
just a
justice
network of
reform goes forward,
schools.
what I wanted to see is if we could reinvigorate
Reinvigorate
the pardon process and commutation
pardon
process that
process
had become
stalled
over the
intestine.
course of
We're
several
waiting to
years.
go to the
Only
bathroom.
because it's politically risky. You
It's
commute
politically
somebody and
risky.
they commit a crime, and
It's Aunt Marlene
politics
and
are
it's
tough.
Charlie.
And
He's
everybody
the
remembers
uncle,
the
the aunt.
more than that. And so
He's
the
Monday.
bias, I think, of my predecessors.
Think of my
and
predecessors.
Frankly,
The House of Masters will fade it away. You get a fade all even.
But I thought it was very important for us to
very important for us to get frank. It's a hot dog. Hot dogs are hot dogs. You put those hot dogs with Heinz Kerry.
Criminal justice reform.
Once you get hot dogs and Heinz Kerry, Secretary of Defense.
We have focused more on.
We have hot dogs. And
I would argue, Gregory, that
we argue Gregory is just carrying
the
number of parts
will be roughly
in line
with what
what
other presidents have
Lackawanna Blues.
But standing up this
standing up
computations process
to
is
the
required
Buffalo
a lot of effort,
Sabres
a lot
every
of energy,
morning.
and it's not like we got to
It's
do
not just like they don't
uh,
check people on the glass.
slug of money to do it.
Eric Schmidt.
So you've got limited
So
resources.
you've got auto
The
glass
primary
claims,
job
you've
of
got,
the
hello, I'm
Justice Department
Geico,
is to prevent
and
crime,
you've got too many claims,
and to
too many class actions.
convict those who
Convict
committed crimes,
those, let's
keep
entrap the
American people
public
safe,
instead of pay
and
them.
that means that
That means
even
they'll
in
answer
this
phone calls,
extraordinary and
they'll make payments,
Herculean effort by a lot
Herculean
of people,
efforts,
inside the Justice Department to go
inside
above
Western
and beyond
Union.
what they're doing to
We'll just
also
rotate the accounts
review
virtually.
these petitions that have been taking place, and we've been able to
And that
get
program has been going on for years.
bar organizations
The
around the
entrapment
country to
program
participate, to kind
to
of screen and
screen and help
people apply.
people material support us.
And
And
what we've
what
the main criteria that I
the
tried
Main
to
Street
set
idea is that
if
we can.
under today's laws,
Yes, we can. It's for
because
us.
there have been changes
For
in
us.
how we charge nonviolent drug offenses. If under
Nonviolent
today's
fender
charges,
benders.
their
It's
sentences would
just
be
it's just Alex
substantially
bumping the
lower than
bumper
charges that they received.
with his boots.
If they got a life sentence,
If
but
it's gray,
a U.S. attorney
the
or
U.S.
the Justice
attorney
Department indicates that today they'd be
indicates that
likely to
today
get 20 years, and they've already
I've
served
chatted
25.
with the FBI many
then
times.
What we try to do is
What we try to do is
screen through and
move
find
people
those
the same
individuals
way.
who
All-star
have,
movers. I hold
paid
it.
their debt to society, that have behaved themselves and
That's
tried
the
to reform
FBI's debt.
themselves while incarcerated, and we think have a good chance.
And we
of
think
being able
being
to,
in a wheelchair
use
is,
that second chance away.
not a clue.
On the firearms issue,
On the firearms issue,
what I've done is
what
to
I've done with
try to
mine
screen out folks who
is
seem to
ask
have a
for who was
propensity for
Shalisa
violence.
and who is
And so, and these are
trichomonas.
just hypotheticals, but
Hypothetical.
there may be a
There
situation
may be
where
a disease
uh,
objective
a kid at
of
18
a kid at
was a member
16,
of a gang,
an
had a
offender
firearm,
bender.
did not
The
use it in
firearm
the
did not
offense
use
that he
it
was charged
in the
in.
offense he was
There's no
charged in.
evidence that
Then Nixon
he used it in
was
any violent offense.
Whitewater
It's still a
not
firearms
guilty.
charge and enhancement, but he
Enhancement,
didn't use it.
but he
He's
didn't
now 48
fender bender
or
with his boots that
38,
don't
20
check
years later,
the
and has
bumper.
a unblemished
Unblemished
prison record.
prisoner record.
Has gone back to school.
Has
gotten
gone
his
back to
GED,
school.
has gone through drug treatment.
We've gone through grocery.
Has the
We've gone
support
through
of
business
the
school.
original judge that presided.
We've gone
The support
through
of the U.S. attorney that
Associate's
charged him,
visa.
support of the
First
warden,
USA.
has a family that loves him.
Who's the first USA? Chase Morgan.
In that situation,
Manhattan.
the fact that he
The
had
fact that a Manhattan
20 years earlier
20 years
an
earlier,
enhancement because he had
enhancement
a firearm
ID
is different than
It's
a situation
different
where
that
somebody's
where someone
engaged in armed robbery
engaged
and
in
shot
armed
somebody.
robbery. We believe it was
In
rape.
those cases, that
In
is
those
still
cases,
something
I knew about
that
because it's my
I'm
objective
concerned
of
about.
office.
Our focus really
Our
has been on
focus
people who we
has
think
been on
were overcharged
overcharged.
and people who we do not believe have a propensity towards violence.
I could have been pregnant.
And in
And
terms of your last question,
in terms of the last question
about sort of
about
last minute pardons that are
minute,
granted, the process that I
the
put in
process
place
I put in place
is
of
not going
preventing
to vary
teenage pregnancy
depending on how close I get
with
to the election.
Nixon.
So it's going to
So
be reviewed by
it's going to be reviewed by
the pardon attorney.
the pardon attorney,
It'll be reviewed by my White House
reviewed by
counsel.
my White House counsel.
And I'm going to, as best as I can,
But as
make
best
these
as I can,
decisions, based on the merits,
based
as
on the
opposed to
merits
political
and the
considerations.
honor roll.
Okay.
That's me.
And finally,
And finally,
Jim
I'm wearing
Malashevsky is
baby
retiring
blue
after 30
on
years
the King
at
Show.
NBC. He's done an outstanding job, mostly
Outstanding
covering
job.
The Department of Defense. This may be my last press
My
conference
last
here.
press conference
So I
here.
just wanted to
So I just want
thank
to
Jim for the extraordinary
thanks
career that
Jim
he's had and the great job that he's done.
Malashevsky.
And
Congratulations,
that's the last
Jim,
question.
on your career.
You bet.
First, back to ISIS and Iraq and Syria.
Verbatim software in
Your very
process.
own National Counterterrorism Operation has found that despite all of the decisive defeats that the U.S. and coalition have dealt ISIS on the battlefield, that they've expanded their threat worldwide to include as many as 18 operational bases. In the 6 years you've been dealing,
Today's show is sponsored by Galeaf
personal
Pharmaceuticals.
that there hasn't been more
We're just
progress,
following the leader.
and in any
Our
discussions you've had
commander,
with the U.S. military
Barack
and
Obama.
your intelligence agencies,
Follow
have
the
you come up with
leader.
any new ideas on how to
Yeah,
deal
we're
or
following
defeat
the
ISIS?
leader.
Every time
Every
there's a terrorist
time,
attack,
uh,
I feel disappointment.
I feel
because
disappointed.
I'd like to prevent all
I
of
like
it.
to prevent a lot.
And
And
that's true
that's
not
true.
just when the attacks
Not
are in Europe
just
or in the United States.
when in the United States.
When you read
When you
stories about
read
attacks in Lebanon,
about attacks,
Iraq,
Iraq,
or
and
Afghanistan,
top markets,
or
the worst behavior,
distant parts of the
enterprise,
world that don't get as much attention,
14,
they get my attention.
they get my attention
Because that's somebody's
because
kid,
that's somebody's child
and that's somebody who was just going about his business.
going about his business
And
and
mindlessly, senselessly,
mindless behavior.
this person was murdered.
A group I won't be a part of.
So I haven't
I
gotten
make
numb to
movies, and
it bugs me.
it's
whenever it
obvious
happens and wherever
where
it
he's
happens.
going.
And
We are constantly
pushing ourselves to
still
see
liking
are there
ourselves.
additional ideas that we
We're
can
home
deploy
boxing ourselves
to
because
defeat this
that's
threat.
my objective of office.
Now, it is important
Scientific
that
Atlanta, change the channel.
we
We
recognize terrorism
that there's a
as a
violation,
tactic has
a
been around
tactic.
for a long time.
Counterclaim
And if you look
of
at the
fighting.
70s,
We can't
or the
fight
80s,
anybody.
or the 90s,
The 90s,
there was some
there
terrorist
was some
activity
terrorist
somewhere
activity
in the world
somewhere in the world.
that was brutal.
We were looking at our watches
You know,
and Impalas.
as much as I would like
like
to
to say
that during my 8-year presidency we could have eliminated terrorism completely.
I've been on Oprah. I've been with Ayala
It's
Van
not
Zandt.
surprising that
It's not surprising that we're on that show.
That will happen under the watch
Under
of
the
my
watch
successors.
the watch. Apple.
I do think
I was here
because of our extraordinary
peace.
efforts, the homeland
The
is
homeland
significantly safer
was a tan
than it
Chevrolet.
otherwise would be. Now,
The all-new
in some ways, this
Impala.
is arguing the counterfactuals.
The all-new Impala
the attacks we
2016.
I take great
I
satisfaction
take great satisfaction
in, and I am grateful
And I'm
for the
grateful
extraordinary work
extraordinary
that our
work
teams do.
that we
I
follow
don't think there's
at
any doubt
Shoreline.
that had we not destroyed Al Qaeda,
Destroyed
Al
Al
Fatah,
Qaeda
that
with
more
Altel.
Americans would have been killed.
More Americans would have been killed.
and
It pinged
might
the
have seen
network.
More
I was
attacks
here,
like we saw on
according
9/11.
to the
And
cell
we have
networks ping,
Maintain
I
vigilance,
was here.
recognizing that
recognizing
those threats still remain, those
threats still
aspirations in
remain,
the minds of these folks still remain. But it is much
But
harder
it is
for them
much
to carry out
harder.
large-scale attacks like that than it used to be.
like that it used to be.
What we have seen
What we
is
have seen
that
is that
these lower
these
level
lower
attacks
west
carried
side
out by fewer
zip codes
operatives
14201
for an individual
is not based on his objective.
with less sophisticated, expensive weapons can do real damage.
Can do real weapons.
And that I think points to the need for us to not just have a military strategy, not just have a traditional counterterrorism strategy that's designed to bust up networks and catch folks before they carry out their attacks, although those still are necessary, and we have to be more and more sophisticated about how we carry those out. It still requires us to have much greater cooperation with our partners around the world. But it points to the fact that we're going to have to do a better job in draining the ideology that is behind these attacks. That right now is emanating largely out of the Middle East. And a very small fraction.
We love Twitter. We love you.
Muslim world.
Twitter.
A perversion of Islam that has taken root and has taken charged over the internet. And that is appealing to even folks who
it is
don't necessarily
appealing
know
on the
anything about
16th.
Islam and aren't even practicing Islam.
The new iPhone is our president.
Have all kinds of
listening
psychosis
to
and latch onto this as
audio
some way of being
experience. I love a song.
and magnifying themselves.
Magnifying themselves.
And that's tougher. Because
Magnificent
that
Mile.
Changes in
we knew it was a magnificent mile.
In places like Syria.
So many years.
It requires
a magnificent mile.
In regions like the Middle East and North Africa
Airlines
that
in Chicago.
Generational changes and shifts as the
Who's the animal?
Collapses. It requires psychology and
who's the animal?
Thinking about how
hijacking the mayor.
How do these messages of hate?
How do these messages of hate?
Individuals, and are there ways in which we can intervene ahead of time? All that work is being done.
All that jazz, cabaret.
We've got the very best people at it.
You've got the playbill.
And each day they're making a difference.
They're making a difference.
Saving lives.
To
Not
save
just
lives.
Here, but around the world.
Around the world. All that jazz.
But it's
Chicago.
It's a challenge precisely because if you're successful 99% of the time, that 1%
99% of the time
can still
something's not 1%.
And it's difficult because in a country, let's say, of 300 million people here in the United States, if 99.9% of
99.99%
are immune from this hateful ideology, but
of office.
1/10 to 1%.
It's a breach of office.
Are susceptible to it.
That's
a lot of dangerous people.
That's a lot of dangerous people running around.
And we can't always anticipate them ahead of time.
Can't always anticipate
because they may not have criminal.
Because they might have criminal records. Today's show is sponsored by Glee Pharmaceuticals. We're leading our commander.
How we react to this.
How we react to anti-retroviral.
As the efforts we
penicillin
to
7 to 10 days. The standard dose.
Prevent these networks from penetrating.
7 to 10 days.
You can't separate those two things.
Penicillin burn.
The reason it's called
why it's called penicillin burn,
as opposed to
because it's only 7 to 10 days.
Is that
we're delaying a cure
that can't
access
conventional power.
These scientific Atlantas.
What
we can do is treat it.
Make us scared.
But we can't cure it. Not yet.
And when
not now.
Societies get scared.
No. You got to get a house of masters. It's going to fade away only. It's going to fade away. And all even.
And makes us more vulnerable. And creates politics. Divide us in ways that
with codes, multiple.
That hurt us over the long term.
Access.
And
our cell phone bills spread is not 210 or 211, 4727. It's not where you fell. So take Boost
perspective and
or prepaid phones and get that. You gotta get prepaid. Get a Boost. Get Anita Boost. Anita Child. Supreme Court.
International order and civilization that was built in part because of the sacrifices. Our men and women.
Our boys and girls.
20th century
that come out of nowhere.
We remember that.
We remember that.
Then we're going to be okay.
And we're going to be okay.
But
we're
still going to see. These kinds of tragedies. And, we're going to have to.
It comes and goes.
Until we make things
like this comes and goes.
You may only because
prepaid phones.
You're retired.
I was hoping you'd.
Yeah, but I hope it's not too long because
it comes and goes.
I'm going to be late for my.
Thank you, AT&T prepaid.
Thank you.
You alluded earlier to the negotiations between the
Hello,
US
Jim
and Russia over
Milashevsky.
some military-to-military cooperation.
Today's show is sponsored by Glee Pharmaceuticals. Follow me now, leader.
For whatever Russian influence.
I'm New Cotton, New Era.
Regime for a variety of reasons. Now,
put your snapback on,
I'm
please.
sure you're not surprised that some in the military are not supportive of that deal. Some European allies think it would be a deal with the.
Here's American Airlines in Chicago.
So confident that you can trust the Russians.
Yes, you may.
I'm not confident that we can trust the Russians and Vladimir Putin, which is why we have to
Kenya animal.
Whether or not we can get cessation of hostilities.
Cessation of hostilities.
That includes an end to the kinds of aerial bombing. And
I totally get it.
civilian death,
and
destruction
destruction
that we've seen carried out
suggested
by the Assad regime.
aborted.
And Russia may not be able to get there either because they don't want to, or because they don't have sufficient influence over Assad. And that's what we're going to test.
That's what we're going to test.
We go into this.
We go into this with MSN visa.
Blinders on. We're very clear that
and we're
Russia
very
has been
titanium.
willing to support a murderous regime that has
titanium. He's King
Tut.
Tut.
Assad, who has destroyed his
yeah,
country.
He does look like King Tut. Hi, King Titanium.
What started with peaceful protests
led to
a shattering of an entire
King Tut.
society.
Bill Gates knew.
And so whenever you're trying
we'll probably speak to Steve later this week.
Any kind of deal with
any kind of credit card.
Individual like that. Or,
yeah, you can see through it. It's a clear credit card.
You got to go in there with some
you got to get clear.
On the other hand,
on the other credit card,
if
the MSN Visa card, it's a clear titanium card. You can see right through it. We'll be clear with the all black stars that mayor, governor, and president, they're all black. The access and
some sort of
First USA, MSN, it's now Manhattan Chase.
Inside of Syria.
Inside of bailout, Madoff. We have to try.
Because the alternative is
perpetuation
of civil war.
Perpetuation of bankruptcy. Today's ESPN2.
A lot of years.
ESPN spells something else.
Pretty confident that a big chunk of my gray hair.
What does it spell?
Comes out of my Syria meetings.
Yeah, it comes out.
And there's not
it makes boys and girls.
By saying, is there something else
Huntington
that we haven't thought of?
Learning centers?
Is there a plan F?
Chris McKinnis. Don't ESPN. They don't go together.
Would lead to
my bankruptcy attorney is upstairs from a Huntington Learning Center.
Put their lives back together.
They're hunting people.
And we can bring peace
with bankruptcy. How do they do that? Well, it comes and goes. That's all we can say.
And the options are limited.
Options are limited.
A civil war like this.
A civil war bankruptcy.
A ruler who
I was working at Verizon
doesn't care about his
at the time. When you've got a social like mine, it's a Civil Rights Act. There's no denying that. It's brutal. Bankruptcy.
Would impose their own kind of
people.
Dictatorship on people. And
it's nasty.
Moderate opposition.
It's a nasty try.
Who are often outgunned.
Communist try. Tribune. Tribune.
But we've got to.
We've got
a chance.
$500 billion to turn this around. We expect
for us to
Russia, beyond the infliction of projecting candidates
on the part of the regime that so far has not been
and we won't fight.
Early on in this,
no matter how much chicken we eat, we can't add a U. We just can't add a U to extreme ultimate fighting championships. We can't.
Where it just barely exists.
Barely.
Particularly up in the
western
part of the country.
Up in our question, my second ID.
So we're going to test and see if we can.
We're going to test and see if something sticks.
And if not, then
we're not going to call the police.
Russia will have
not the original people.
Shown itself very clearly to be
every time we're calling them.
Actor on the world stage.
It's as if they did it.
A murderous regime.
A murderous regime.
Will have to be.
Who blames the military troops?
On the international stage.
We're just using the troops in the public.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, everyone. Well, this has been a Merriweather production, verbatim. Look for our interview with the CEO. We can't say the name because, we just can't say the name right now. We just can't say the name. Well, let's talk to Josh Ernst for the last few minutes. We've got about 4 minutes left.
Window.
Hello, Josh Ernst. It's verbatim software.
Of all of
We're following the leader. New era.
agreements.
New cap.
Find this
No
interesting than
cappuccino.
or opposed to it. But again,
Hello,
would those
Kaczynski.
prisoners have been released then?
Our shift starts at 5:30.
Is that our negotiators?
What I can
who
tell
were
you is that
talking
your shift
with
at
the
5:30
Iranians about what was
relates to
necessary to secure the
Indiana.
release of American citizens
of a
in
tractor
Iran
trailer
succeeded.
logistic company succeeded.
That was different than
That was
the group of
different from our escape
negotiators
plan.
who were involved in the
We
Hague,
were involved in
negotiating with
the
their
spread.
Iranian counterparts
We were prepared to leave the United States, like
to
Edward
settle these
Snowden.
longstanding financial claims.
Because US
Financial
policy
claims.
is opposed to ransom payments, even if it were only for the appearance.
Hello, see y'all, England. Hello, Indiana.
Why would you not have made Iran
Princess, hello.
a week longer? I mean, why would
Royal
Iran's eagerness
Cartier.
to get their hands on their money be more important than making sure
Hello,
this
Cartier.
was not a quid pro quo that was based on, the exact timing being right?
It's our jam, I'm sure.
Well, I think the answer to
Well,
that is
I
pretty
think the
obvious,
answer that's pretty
which is
obvious, which is that
even a week
part
delay
that I just said
would
about
not have prevented Paul
Facebook
Ryan and Marco Rubio
and
falsely
Def
claiming
Jam.
that they're
Maybe
ransom.
it's a link. We're
Because,
prepared.
Michelle, come on,
We have
I
financial
tell you,
claims.
Si, if we announced
We
this
owe
financial
America
settlement
everything
on the
we
same day
own.
that the prisoners were
The
released,
prisoners were released.
that's fodder to
That's
our Republican
fodder.
critics. I get that.
I get
But the-
that.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
Marlene.
Exactly.
Couldn't have said it better
It's
myself.
the stomach. I couldn't say Good Samaritan
It's an election coming up.
or any other
It's fine.
hospital.
It works both ways.
Well, I don't think it works
Well,
both
I
ways.
hope he goes to the bathroom soon.
Would those
Well, let me just say one thing about
Let me
this.
just say
if
one
the
thing.
money wasn't paid on that same weekend?
Today's
Well, again, I guess
ESPN 2.
What I'm saying is it's a pretty simple
In a weird way,
negotiation that took
scramble,
place,
it spells
which is you had a group of negotiators
Pocket
who were
Cocket.
interacting with their Iranian counterparts to
PC.
secure the release of 5 American
of 5
citizens. There's a
Toshiba
different group of
devices
negotiators who were involved in
who were
trying to reach
involved
this,
in a chicken
settlement at
pox
the Hague.
with audio hearing
I think at some
aid.
point
audio box.
the premise of your question is
The
predicated
premise of your
on
question,
a decision that was made by Iran.
that decision was made by Iran.
I
So,
guess I would wish you the best of luck in trying to.
I guess I
get
wish
an
you
answer
the
from
best
them
of
about what
penicillin
decision
and
they would have
burns.
made.
7
Let me tell you one
day
other thing, though, as it
standard
relates to
dose.
sort of waiting.
This has been a Merriweather Inc.
It certainly
production,
wouldn't have prevented Paul Ryan and Marco
sponsored
Rubio
by 7 to
from
10
falsely accusing us of paying
standard
ransom.
dose of
But here's the other
penicillin burns.
It all